In the bitter winter of 1942, snow fell softly over Warsaw, but inside the ghetto walls, there was no softness left. A young Polish social worker named Irena Sendler stood at the gate, her breath misting in the frozen air as she watched skeletal children press their small hands against the cold iron bars. Behind those walls, 400,000 Jews were crammed into a space meant for 30,000 starving on 200 calories a day, freezing in unheated tenements, their bodies stacked in alleys like cordwood. Typhus spread through the streets like a ghost, and every morning, new lists appeared on lampposts, names of those to be deported eastward to a place called Treblinka. Irena carried a forged health inspector's pass in her pocket, stamped with the eagle of the German Labor Department. Officially, she was there to check for disease. Unofficially, she was there to steal children from hell, and she had already decided that hell would not keep them. She began quietly, in the shadows, where cruelty overlooked compassion. A newborn wrapped in a burlap potato sack, its cries muffled by a cloth soaked in gentle sedative. A toddler placed inside a carpenter's wooden toolbox, breathing through air holes drilled near the hinges, her tiny fingers clutching a rag doll as the lid closed above her. Older children 6, 7, 8 years old were led through the courthouse basement, where sewage pipes ran beneath the ghetto wall, their small bodies squeezing through narrow tunnels, slick with filth, emerging on the other side into the arms of waiting nuns. Each child received a new polished name, whispered like a prayer, a forged baptismal certificate tucked into their coat, and a tiny slip of tissue paper bearing their true identity: mother's name, father's name, birthday trolled tight and hidden inside a glass jar buried beneath the gnarled roots of an apple tree in a neighbor's garden. Irena knew the Nazis would not simply shoot her if discovered. They would break her bones slowly. They would make her scream until her voice vanished. But as she held a trembling 3-year-old named Rivka close to her chest one evening, feeling the child's heartbeat against her own, she understood. Some risks are not risks at all. They are simply what must be done. By spring, the ghetto was emptying faster, whole families vanishing overnight, entire apartment blocks falling silent. Trains rolled eastward every dawn, their cattle cars packed with the living dead. Irena worked now with Gestapo, the council, to aid Jews. Poland's underground resistance and a fragile network of Catholic nuns who hid children in convent orphanages, priests who forged documents in candlelit sacristies, and ordinary families who risked everything to hide a child in an attic crawlspace or behind a false wall in their pantry. She memorized every detail. Little Jacob's birthmark shaped like a crescent moon on his shoulder, Esther's lisp when she said the word butterfly, the way Moshe's mother had pressed his small hand into Irena's palm and whispered, "Tell him his mother loved him until the last breath." She made promises she knew might be impossible to keep. "I will bring them back to you after the war." And when mothers pressed gold wedding rings into her palm treasures, meant to buy their children as safety, she refused them all. "Keep this," she would say gently. "You will need it when I return your child to you." She never broke that promise, even when she knew, deep in her bones, that many mothers would never return. In October 1943, the Gestapo came for her at dawn. Boots hammered on her apartment door. They dragged her to Powiat prison, a place where hope went to die. In a concrete cell lit by a single bare bulb, they beat her with iron pipes until both her legs shattered like dry kindling. They showed her photographs of her aging father, a man who had taught her as a child that helping the helpless is the highest duty. They demanded the list, names of children, names of families, locations of hiding places. Through broken teeth and swelling eyes, she gave them nothing but silence. Sentenced to execution by firing squad, she was led through prison corridors toward a courtyard wall, but as she limped past a guard post, a Gestapo operative slipped a wad of cash into a guard's pocket. The guards looked away. She vanished into Warsaw's underground, living in attics and root cellars for the rest of the war-condemned woman with shattered legs, crawling through darkness while the jar beneath the apple tree waited, holding 2,500 names like seeds waiting for spring. After the war, Warsaw lay in ruins, 90% of the city reduced to rubble and ash. Irena returned to the orchard where the apple tree still stood, its branches scarred by shrapnel, but alive. She dug beneath its roots with trembling hands and unearthed the jar, its glass cloudy, but unbroken. Inside, 2,500 slips of paper survived the war intact. For years afterward, she traveled across Poland with that jar, knocking on doors, placing notices in newspapers, searching for surviving relatives. Most children had no one left, parents vanished into smoke at Treblinka, grandparents buried in mass graves. But she found some. A boy reunited with an aunt in Łódź, twin girls embraced by a cousin in Krakow. When asked why she did it, why she risked torture and death for strangers' children, she shook her head as if the question made no sense. "My father was a doctor," she said softly. "When typhus swept our village, he treated Jewish patients, though others called him a fool. He died of that fever when I was 7. But before he died, he told me, if you see someone drowning, you don't ask what religion they are. You jump in and pull them out." She never called herself a hero. She called herself a witness. History called her something else. Today, the apple tree still grows in Warsaw, its branches heavy with fruit each autumn. Beneath its shade, a simple bronze plaque reads, "In memory of Irena Sendler, who saved 2,500 children from the Holocaust. Not with weapons, not with armies, but with forged papers hidden in her shoe, sleeping pills dissolved in milk, and a jar of names buried in the dirt holding truth until the world was ready to hear it again." And in classrooms across Poland, children learn her story, not as legend, but as lesson. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else, justice, mercy, love is more important than fear. That one person, armed only with conscience, can stand between darkness and light. And that's sometimes the most revolutionary act, is not to fight with guns, but to carry a child through a tunnel in the dark, whispering their true name like a secret prayer, refusing to let the world forget who they are.